on this edition of ATV News.
I don't want him to be able to touch another patient.
We'll show you why a doctor from this office is facing heat from former patients.
Hopefully everything stays fine because we don't really have other places to go.
We'll show you how the Ukraine invasion is hitting close to home.
We don't grow marijuana.
We'll show you why USU is growing cannabis on campus.
The Aggies clobbered the Lobos last night with the help of an Aggie off the bench. I'll give you a hint. You've heard of him.
It's been windy. I'll show you how fast that wind was going, and it might have been faster than your car.
All that and more, this is ATV News.
Time for our state's response to the pandemic to make the appropriate shift to better match where we are today. It's time to adapt.
Utah is changing the way it responds to COVID-19. Governor Cox announced at a briefing on Friday the state is moving to a steady state model instead of an emergency model. Cox says under this new model, health systems will handle most vaccinations and testing rather than the state. And Utah will treat COVID-19 more like the flu rather than a new virus. Cox says the state will make this transition by March 31st. Welcome to ATV News. I'm Yvonne Bass.
And I'm Leah Krishoni. Let's take a look at COVID cases across the state. While Utah is working toward a steady state, COVID case numbers have increased to over 900,000 cases. There have been almost 33,000 hospitalizations, and there have been over 4,000 deaths in Utah. In the Bear River Health District, which contains Cache, Box Elder, and Rich counties, there have been over 51,000 COVID cases, which is under 2,000 hospitalizations, and over 200 people have died from COVID.
USU reports their COVID cases a little differently. There are currently 285 active COVID cases at USU. That is a decrease of almost 300 cases from last week. This brings USU's average to about 77 cases every 14 days.
In other news, Utah State is restructuring its public safety department and brought back some familiar faces to help out. Michael Keene was the public safety leader, and now the public safety executive director. Ellis Brew will be returning to his role of emergency management director. President Noel Cockett says the restructure will help strengthen leadership and oversight in the public safety department. Keene says he's excited to be back and expects a little change.
I think outreach, and part of that listening process is really to find out what their concerns are. And it's important for our campus community to know that we have very caring, very sensitive individuals who are ready and willing to listen to them if they're the victim of a crime.
Utah State announced they will hire a new police chief as part of the restructure, which Keene will help oversee.
Multiple women are speaking out against a Provo OBGYN, saying he used unnecessary procedures without their consent. Sarah Murphy met with one of these women and joined us live from the newsroom to tell us why she wants to share her story.
That's right, Yvonne. I talked with one of these women who has come forward who has requested to remain anonymous. Now, she said her recent decision to speak out is not only to seek legal action against the doctor, but also to help others who might find themselves in similar situations as her own.
I just hate that it has gone on this long.
She says she hates what happened to her 7 years ago on this road in this building.
I went in for one very specific thing, and I left the office that day having received multiple unnecessary examinations without my consent, with inappropriate commentary, touching, and little to no warning on what he was doing.
Her decision to speak out is a recent one.
About a month ago, I was listening to a podcast and another woman was being interviewed, and she started sharing an experience that sounded extremely similar to mine. Memories started coming up. She mentions the name Dr. David H. Broadbent, and when she said that, my heart just sunk, and it was like I immediately started crying.
And they're not alone. Dozens of other individuals have left Broadbent reviews online, saying he should have his license revoked, calling him incompetent and inept, creepy and inappropriate, some dating back to 2013. But despite this,
He's still in practice today.
he's still working.
I just think that it is totally sickening to think of the 30 years that he has been practicing and how many women have seen him and been treated by him inappropriately.
While the plaintiff says she does want legal action,
I don't want him to be able to touch another patient.
she says her hope for others who find themselves on the same road.
I hope that they know that they can speak up and that they can leave in such a vulnerable setting as an OBGYN's office, that they realize that they are in control and that they are the authority over their own body.
The woman I talked to and 3 other accusers came together to file a lawsuit against Broadbent last week. Now, she said one reason she's sharing her story is she hopes it'll help others gain the confidence they need to come forward. Reporting live from the newsroom, Sarah Murphy, ATV News.
Thanks, Sarah.
2 snowmobile riders are still recovering today after they crashed in Smithfield. Crews responded to the crash at 11:30 a.m. on Saturday morning. One park ranger said both the woman and the child were riding on the same snowmobile on their property. They hit a jump, went over the railroad tracks, and crashed into their neighbor's land. The ranger says they weren't wearing a helmet.
Helmets would have prevented much of the injuries that the people sustained. Any head injury can be, prevented by a proper helmet.
Crews took both riders to Logan Regional Hospital, where the ranger says they are doing okay and are still recovering.
Some parts of a Hiram home are destroyed after a house fire. Crews from around the valley responded to the fire near 3rd North and 750 West Sunday afternoon. Firefighters say the fire started in the garage and quickly spread to the rest of the house.
It was very challenging in the beginning. There was a lot of stuff happening inside of the house. There was a lot of contents in there. And it took a minute to get under control, but once we did, everything got under control very quick.
This man lives in the home and is training to be a firefighter and an EMT. He was able to grab his 7-year-old brother and get out along with his other siblings. No one had any injuries. Fire crews say the garage is a total loss, but they are still investigating the damage to the rest of the home. Russian President Vladimir Putin has recognized parts of Ukraine as independent and sent troops into the region.
Jake Ellis shows you how the conflict is infecting an Aggie.
Christina Frank studies between classes at Utah State University. She's from Kiev, Ukraine, and says the current conflict with Russia is nothing new.
Throughout my life and experience in Ukraine, there's always been something happening.
Russian troops have already entered parts of eastern Ukraine. President Vladimir Putin doesn't call it an invasion. President Joe Biden does, and this is what the U.S. has done in response.
This week, Biden announced economic sanctions against Russia. Previously, the U.S. had told U.S. citizens to leave now, said they will not launch any military rescues for U.S. citizens left in Ukraine. And the State Department moved the U.S. Embassy from Kiev to Lviv.
This is an attempt to undo the response in 2014.
Frank says outside countries are the ones escalating the situation.
It seems to me like the other countries are more invested in trying to make something happen than Ukraine itself.
For Frank, even if her family is not right on the border, the situation is still nerve-wracking.
It really makes me even more stressed and nervous to just watch the news, because then it's just not good. So I just communicate with my family, check on them, and see if they're good. And hopefully everything stays fine, because we don't really have other places to go.
So how likely is a full-scale invasion beyond the current occupation? Pechenkina says it's difficult to tell.
This is an impossible question to answer, and of course, we shouldn't make predictions. I will simply say that based on the fundamentals, it would be shocking to see a full-on invasion.
Don't want anything bad to happen. Want my family to be safe.
Jake Ellis, ATV News.
To read more about Frank's life in Ukraine and her volleyball skills, you can find the link on our Facebook page.
It's nothing that's really...
When I first saw this, I thought of one thing. I learned why this leaf represents something different to researchers at USU than what you may be thinking.
It's nothing that's really hurting the plant.
Cutting tops off cannabis helps the controversial plant grow.
We've been growing hemp, low THC cannabis for the past 3 years now.
As soon as it became legal, the growers started funding our research.
This plant is currently being photographed.
This type of data has been researched for popular crop plants. Dr. Bugbee says the hemp plant has very little research done for it, which makes it a well for discoveries.
So as a scientist, you want to study interesting things.
The research center is starting by studying the growth of the plant.
It's been legal for a very short period of time, and there's not a lot of data on how to grow the plant. Yeah, you can't really see a difference yet.
Westmoreland says overexcitement of the recent legalization has led to poorly made hemp products.
A lot of people wanted to jump in and start growing and start selling these products, and unfortunately there was no real regulation, there was no real oversight.
The plant was illegal in Utah before 2018. Westmoreland believes it shouldn't have ever been illegal.
There's a whole slew of things that we can do with this plant. We sort of criminalized it because of the one compound that is psychoactive.
This is the flower of the cannabis plant. This is where you'll find the CBD and the THC. These plants have more CBD than they have THC. This is why.
CBD is non-psychoactive. We don't grow marijuana. THC is the psychoactive component. That's what people associate with the high that you get from marijuana.
Students at the research center became interested in cannabis research for different reasons. Some started with
the desire to grow plants, and that's one of the other great things about cannabis is that it gets people interested in plant science.
The National Institute on Drug Abuse says marijuana is a gateway drug. Regarding cannabis, Westmoreland says CBD hemp is
a gateway, if you will, to get people interested in science and in plant physiology.
I know that it's going to be the plant that I work with for the rest of my life.
The Cannabis Cultivation Center started an online course to share their knowledge on growing the plant. Westmoreland helped create the course, and he says it is available worldwide for anyone who wants to learn. You can find a link to more info on our Facebook page. And coming up.
I'm an Aggie, but I'm a black Aggie.
We'll show you how USU clubs are sharing their culture and promoting inclusion.
We think it's more than just a sport. We really think it's a way to build community at the university.
Why these students are clapping and what USU do to keep the celebrations coming.
Coming up in weather, Sarah Murphy will have the 7-day forecast. The current temperature is 18 degrees. 23 degrees.
Listen, you're my friend.
I noticed you haven't really been yourself recently.
Yeah, I feel like something's up.
How are you?
Are you okay?
Is there anything you want to talk about?
I just want to know how you're feeling.
And listen, even if you don't know what to say, I'm here to talk.
No matter what you're going through,
I just want you to know I'm here.
I've got your back. When you want to talk, I'm here.
It's been loud and cold over the past couple days this week as the wind has taken Cache Valley by storm. Now I was there, I was on campus, I was walking to class, and let me tell you, it was windy and I'm not even totally sure if these shots do it justice. I'm Sarah Murphy, welcome to ATV Weather. Now we looked at a couple of the USU satellite cams across campus and to compare the weather between yesterday to today. Now you're seeing right now a shot of Old Main, and this is taken from yesterday, right when the wind was picking up, so you don't see a lot of the wind going on. In just a second here, you're gonna see it from this morning. A big change, the snow hit, a little bit of light dusting across the quad.
And now we're taking a look at the legacy kind of hyper fields. This is from yesterday morning. Again, you can see the wind kind of hitting that bush over there in the bottom left. The snow this morning, you're going to see a big gust of wind across the field. And then again from the left of the screen, here's a couple quick shots of over Mountain View over on that side of campus. You'll see the wind from yesterday to the snow today. There's another one. You'll see that tarp flying around a little bit. And then today, the tarp is still flying because there's wind and snow. Again, you're going to see here's the valley. Notice that tree on the left side of the screen. It's a big tree, but the wind is so strong, it's kind of making it move again all the way up until today. So just how strong were these gusts of wind? Let's take a look at our wind radar to find out. They'll pull it up here in a second, but when this radar pops up, you're going to see this map full of different colors, some purple, some red, and when you see it, you're going to see this nice shot of red. And across the state, once they get it up here, I think we're just having a couple of difficulties, but once they get it up, you'll see that across the state, there's nowhere red except for Logan. So what does that mean for us? That means that Logan was facing some high winds all the way up to 63 miles an hour. Now, if you drive on downtown Logan on Main Street, the speed limit is 35 miles an hour, so almost double was what we were feeling. So where were these winds coming from? Let's take a look at our national radar to figure out where they were coming from. Once they get the national radar pulled up, it looks like we're having a couple issues. There we go. Now we have it. There's a couple of systems that we want to note here across the country. This specific one right here, this came kind of from Southern California, coming over here. Looks like I disappeared. There we go. We're back. It's kind of coming across over, coming through Ohio. It's going to be there in the next couple of days. If you look specifically in Utah, that's where we're having a lot of action. Let's take a closer look with our state radar. Once they pull our state radar up there for a second, looks like we're lagging. The wind's caught us off guard a little bit. But you'll see this system right here. That's what moved through the state a couple days ago. If you were in Provo over the long weekend, you might have noticed how they got some snow, and Logan on Monday, we didn't get a whole bunch. That's because this came through the southern to here, and up here on the north, that's what we're experiencing. Let's take a closer look with our 7-day. Once we pull that up here, you're going to see all across the week, we got some 20s all the way up until the beginning of next week, low 40s. Temperatures are kind of changing, so we'll just kind of have to keep an eye on that. You're all caught up on your weather. Back to you, Leah.
Thanks, Sarah. You may be used to cheering on the Aggies at traditional sporting events like football or basketball. JC Caldwell joins us live in a second from the computer lab to tell us about another sport you may have never thought about. Let's hopefully see if we can pull up JC here. JC, you there? There you are, JC.
Thanks, Leah. Playing behind me, you can see an MLB game, and next to me, you can see USU competing in a recent Esports tournament. But what do you think gets more viewers? Baseball players or virtual characters?
A mouse, a keyboard, a pair of headphones, and a computer is all you need to compete in esports.
Probably.
And as day turns to night, varsity gamers in the esports club turn to their virtual characters to prepare for tournaments like this one against Boston College. And as the club popularity increases, gamers are pushing for a bigger and better arena.
An actual dedicated facility where there's, some projector screens and having an actual live broadcasting team that helps broadcast those esports titles onto a screen where people can come and watch is ideal for an esports facility.
Though people may think gamers just pick up a controller and don't need more space to play, players say it's just like traditional sports and takes dedication and skill.
In video games, you have to be able to visually explain where something is and how to describe that object or where that is.
Players say other misconceptions and gamer stereotypes like being lazy or having no social life aren't realistic.
I think if you took away the stereotypes, a lot more people would play.
Ho said players can compete in any game they want, and unlike many other sports, anyone can play, even non-gamers like me. And the best part is, you can play from the comfort of your own home.
And a lot of people have their own consoles at home. They have PCs, they have Xboxes, Nintendo Switches, PlayStations. They have things at home where they're already getting their hands on it. Whereas not everybody, gets the chance to play like a football game, for example.
USU offers an esports minor and classes for those who want to pursue a career in the industry.
We think it's more than just a sport. We really think it's a way to build community at the university. And it's a way to help students develop in a variety of careers that are related to the gaming world.
Great tracking with a judge from Como.
The Esports Club also has students who broadcast the play-by-play during each game.
Wow, pulling through with the 4 kills.
With the growth of virtual gaming across the country, Morales says he hopes to bring more awareness to USU.
At least 85% of millennials and Generation Z young people are gamers of some sort. That translates into viewership for these kinds of esports competitions through Twitch, for example, that surpasses the number of viewers that watch Major League Baseball events, NBA events, and soon is going to surpass the number that watch NFL events.
The Esports Club is currently 5 and 6 for tournaments this year and welcome walk-on tryouts for students throughout the semester. Reporting live from the Computer Lab, JC Caldwell, ATV News.
Thanks, JC.
February is Black History Month. Jake Ellis shows you how USU celebrated Black Heritage last weekend.
Utah State students danced,
This is the first time, but it won't be the last time that you'll be experiencing something like this.
listened to speeches, and ate last Friday night.
The Soul Food Dinner Night was an opportunity for students and members of the community to gather together, dress formally, and learn more about Black culture and heritage.
It's Black History Month, so we were trying to get some people in so they can figure out what we're about.
For other members of the Black Students Union, the night was about showcasing who they are.
I hope people understood that Black is fun, Black is vibrant, but it's also serious and it's also really important to Utah State. I'm an Aggie, but I'm a Black Aggie.
People from all walks of life seemed to enjoy the event.
It was a lot of fun. The food was great. The talks were interesting. I think it's extremely important. There's a lot of inequality that we have to, and injustice that we have to correct.
Abe Rodriguez said events like this strengthen the culture of inclusivity at USU.
It is very important that we have these kinds of events because, again, if we really do care about diversity, we need to have an inclusive environment, and that starts with being able to be more educated about it.
In that spirit, the Black Student Union invited the Pacifica Student Union to perform during the dinner. Jake Ellis, ATV News.
If you would like to attend a similar event, the Pacifica Student Union is hosting a dance on Friday night. You can find more information on our Facebook page. And coming up, in sports, Caleb Peterson will show you some shots from downtown.
The surplus store. Someone's trash is about to be my treasure. We have cords and cables here. We have bags full of towels and sheets. Do you want this fold-up mattress? Because we don't. We got keyboards, paint cans, whatever this is, typewriters, computer monitors. It's destiny on the line, and we want you at surplus. Products are not guaranteed to work. All sales are final. This commercial is not endorsed by Utah State.
Boise State's Emmanuel Echo brings it down, passing it to Armas. Armas goes for the dunk, and it's blocked by Justin Bean. Welcome to ATV Sports. I'm Caleb Peterson. Let's get back to that Boise State game. All right, so we have RJ Idle. Oh, first, the Boise State Broncos are going to bring it down, but right here, RJ Idlerock steals it. C. Homada saves the ball, and he passes it down to Justin Bean for the dunk. The Aggies also had a few three-pointers this game. Right here, you will see Brandon Harbaugh with, we're going to rewatch that dunk one last time. And Justin Bean gets that dunk. Right, let's go to those three-pointers I was talking about. Right here, Harbaugh saves the ball, and he brings it down. and he passes it to Z Hamada, who looks, dribbles, and shoots, and boom, 3-point shot. And here is another one. Jones has the ball, dribbling, looking, going, and he passes it to Brandon Harva, and 3-point shot. All right, let's keep bringing those threes. Here is another one. Bariso has the ball to Ashworth, to Harva, back to Bariso, and boom, 3 points. The Aggies were on fire with these 3-point shots. Here is another one. Bariso to RJ Idlerock. RJ Idlerock. Oh, look, another 3. Let's keep those coming. The Boise State Broncos were not ready for this one here. See? Boom. Jones takes it, and 3-point. Thanks to the backboard, that 3 would not have gone in. But despite all the threes and the blocks and the dunks and the steals, the Aggies lost 57-68. But don't you worry, because even though the Aggies had this dunk here by Zapala, we were ready to come back to the spectrum. So as we dribble the ball out, let's get ready to bring it back home. The Aggies were ready to take the Lobos on. The Lobos started with the ball, but boom, block by Justin Bean. And here goes Bean with the dunk. One-handed. And here is a 3. Oh, just kidding, it is a dunk by Brandon Harbaugh. Dunks all days for the Aggies. The Lobos also came to play with this 3-point shot right here. But don't you worry, the Aggies still had dunking on their mind. Jones with the ball, who passes it to Zapala, and boom, dunk. I think the Lobos felt a little left out, so they also got in on the dunking action right here. But don't you worry, because Ashworth has the ball. He passes it to Harbaugh, who passes it to Brock Miller for the 3. Welcome back to Aggie basketball, Brock. The Aggies won the game 81-56. Women's basketball traveled to New Mexico to play the Lobos. Kaylin Rendawa scored 15 points, but the Aggies fell to the Lobos 73-93. Women's basketball continued their away games by heading to Air Force and playing them. And here we go. Mansua to Quezada. Quezada takes it all the way to the net. All right, here we go. Rendawa with the save. To Laytone, to Quezada, and back to the hoop. Let's watch that again from a different angle. Rendawa with the save. To Laytone, to Quezada, and boom, back to the hoop. Quezada was on fire. All right, Minnesota's going to pass it to Laytone, who's going to pass it to Quezada, and Quezada and the hoop were working well together. All right, Quezada to Harris. Harris is going to look, pass it back to Quezada, and Quezada for the 3. Let's watch that teamwork one more time. Quezada to Harris. Harris back to Quezada, and you know the story, 3-point shot. Quezada scored 27 points, but the Falcons won 67-56. Aggie Gymnastics went to the Boise State Broncos. Aggies had a season high of 49.5 on floor. The Aggies finished the meet with 195.8. The Broncos scored 196.5. The Aggie softball team hit the road to St. George and played the Trailblazers in a triple-game series. The Aggies left the series with a record of 1-2. Men's tennis had a match against the Montana State Bobcats. The Aggies were well prepared and won 7-0. You are caught up on your Aggie sports. Back to you, Leah. Actually, it's me, Yvonne. Thanks, Kayla. USU Dining Services remodeled and reopened 4 of the cafes on campus. Give me a second. Called the 4 core cafes. These different spots on campus each serve a different kind of food and drink.
We really took the 4 cafes, and our goal was to really give them their own niche in Central Campus, in the core campus, so they then can compete against each other. If you want coffee, you go here. If you want a sandwich, you go here. If you go taco, you go here. Or grab and go, we go here. And that's really kind of what it came down to.
The core 4 cafes include Steeped, where they serve Starbucks and other espresso drinks in the Life Science building. Luke's Family Cafe on the Quad sells authentic street tacos in the Agriculture and Applied Sciences building. Shaw's 88 Kitchen in the Huntsman Hall sells grab-and-go products along with a specialty soda menu. And the Forum Cafe is next to the Merrill Kazier Library, where you can find salads and sandwiches. Thank you for joining us on this edition of ATV News.
Have a great week, Cash.